Well, I can tell you, Gio, we didn't arrive here very long ago, maybe about 15 minutes, so I haven't even talked to anybody, but I wanted to make sure to jump up on live here to show you what we can see, an incredible amount of smoke. I mean, I've covered a lot of fires in my time, and I can't say that I've seen this kind of billowing smoke before. We were a little bit further up this road here. We're off the 330, which is closed in both directions at this point. Of course, we have the ability to get past those closures. So we got up here, and if Greg, if you could show the curvature of the road, kind of where we were much closer to the flames, and this is as quick of a moving fire as I have ever seen. Probably in the 5 minutes that we were standing there, we were both remarking it probably grew at least 100 yards. I mean, the flames just erupting. The other significant thing about this fire is how loud it is. You have probably heard the term a roaring fire. I can tell you this is so loud. It actually kind of sounds like a waterfall. That's how tremendously loud it is. The flames, we understand, further up the 330 have just taken over. That is no longer passable further up the 330 from where we are. And actually, as we were standing up there, and getting great footage showing the devastation, a fire official came up and told us that we had to move immediately, that the flames would be where we were standing in less than 5 minutes. So, of course, we immediately got out of there and came further down. But even from where we are, you can see just how these flames are taking over the mountains here. It is, again, extremely hot here. It's humid, and these flames seem to be just continuing to grow at every moment. This is really quite something to see. Ooh, I don't know. I'm going to try and be quiet and see if you can hear it, because every now and then you really do hear like a tremendous force of the flames. It's probably hard to do, but you can see just how much that is fueling. So we're going to send it back to you. We're going to try to get to a different vantage point so that we can get some more shots to you and show you just how much this is expanding. And of course, we want to stay as safe as we can as we continue to cover this. Gio, back to you.
Of course, Lori, yes, safety is the #1 concern, so go ahead and get to a safe spot. We'll check back in with you when the time comes. In the meantime, yes, I also want to confirm on our end here that we were able to hear those flames roaring at least as much as we could through the screens here. Taking a live look from SkyCal right now, you notice the other vantage point from the eye in the sky is the smoke just blanketing this entire area right now. We also noticed during Lori's live shot the wind. If you caught it on some of those bushes, some of those trees, that is going to be significant as things continue to develop throughout the rest of the evening, because that fire is not slowing down in terms of size and its movement, and firefighters have quite the challenge ahead when you have to consider, you look at the map there, notice all the mountains. There's a lot to get through, and that steep terrain makes it difficult to access. It makes it difficult to establish fire lines and all the sorts. So many crews and things will be out there to try and establish some sort of containment on this fire. So you have evacuation orders, you have evacuation warnings. There's the shelters that are in place and established as well. We'll do our best to get Lori to a safe location to see if she can talk to any people who have already evacuated or perhaps trying to evacuate, because we know that this is going to impact homes. This is going to threaten structures, threaten homes, families, etc. And that's not a threat that's going to go away anytime soon. So once again, a reminder that the line fire exploding in size. This only started a couple of days ago on the 5th, and now it is over 7,000 acres in size, likely only going to get larger as the hours progress into the rest of the evening and perhaps into the rest of the weekend, because as so many of us know, we've already been dealing with it for days and will continue to deal with it for days. That's the heat. That is that excessive heat. It's not just a typical summertime heat that we have all been dealing with. That is not going to make things easier when it comes to this firefight, as well as the wind, as well as air quality concerns. That's something else to monitor, especially if there's anybody who is not dealing with an evacuation order or a warning. All that smoke and everything else, having to live with that and deal with that is going to be quite quite the hurdle to get over. We mentioned with, or Danny mentioned, I should say, when we checked in with her about 10 minutes or so ago, and throughout the rest of the evening, we will also, actually, let's check in with her right now, in fact, because Danny, you mentioned earlier that it's dry, it's hot, it's prolonged heat, you have gusty winds, it's so much going on right now, and it doesn't look like that relief is coming anytime soon.
No, you know, it's not, Gio. We've been seeing these nonstop days, this heat, and we've been talking about it all week, that fire danger was going to be elevated. I want to talk about a couple things. Yes, we have all these ingredients out there. It's hot, it's dry, we've had some gusty winds in that area, it kind of feels like a blow dryer. But what's crazy about this fire, and we've seen this before, is that this fire is making its own weather. I mentioned this just a couple minutes ago, but if you're just joining us, it has exploded because of fire clouds. So if a fire burns hot enough, it can actually create clouds similar to a thunderstorm as hot air kind of shoots up into the atmosphere. And these clouds that get created, they can produce lightning, they can produce rain, they can produce crazy erratic winds, which is what we're seeing today. And that's why this fire has been able to explode. Lori mentioned just a couple minutes ago the smoke that she's seeing out there and how intense it is. Here's a look at our smoke forecast. And when you are seeing those reds, those yellows, that's indicating thick smoke. But when you see those purples, I mean, it doesn't get worse than that. So you're seeing that in areas of Big Bear Lake. You've got that over in Running Springs. And then we're also starting to see some of that thick smoke developing in San Bernardino right now. I'm going to zoom you out. This is a look at the next 24 hours where this smoke is moving to. So you can see because of the winds that are kind of coming out of the southwest, the smoke's going to start to make its way into Rancho Cucamonga, into the San Gabriel Valley, all the way into the LA Basin by Sunday. So here's another look at that. This is going into the overnight hours. This is a look at 11 o'clock. Here's that smoke moving, making its way into the San Gabriel Valley. This is early Sunday morning into areas of Los Angeles, pushing all the way into Calabasas towards Malibu. So areas over there, we are going to start to see some of this thick smoke because we already have it. I mean, this is crazy what we're seeing. I want to also take a look at, in a lot of our areas here in Southern California, we have an air quality alert that's in place. And so this is in place because we are dealing with this thick smoke out there that could be dangerous in some areas. And so this is going to stay in effect Inland Empire. It's going to be in Orange County. So if you're noticing that the sky is a little bit dark in some areas, that's because we are dealing with this increasing air pollution, all due to this wildfire smoke. It's hot out there too. I mean, we have not gotten a break. We all know this. This heat, it has been treacherous. It has been brutal. And for a lot of us, we have not gotten any kind of relief, even at nighttime. So right now in Highland, this is right where the fire is burning, close to it. Temperatures right now, 104 degrees. Not as hot as yesterday, but still, this is hot for our standards. We're still running about 10 to 20 degrees above what's normal. On top of that, it's not just hot, it's also very dry out there. Relative humidity down to about 16%, and our dew point is at 49. So that means it is really, really dry. And then we have gusts nearing 20 miles per hour right now. It's coming out of the southwest. So none of this is helping the fight. It's dry. It's been hot for days. And on top of that, we're going to take a look also at our overnight lows. We've all been feeling it where we don't cool down at night. In that area of the Inland Empire, we've got lows dropping again tonight down to the 70s and 80s. So after a really hot day, we still don't get a break from the intense heat that we've been seeing. I mean, it has been brutal out there, and this fire has been able to explode to such an intense level. Here's a look at our active hotspots. I'll zoom you in, and you can just see all right there, all the spots that have developed. And again, because of these fire clouds, I mean, this fire is creating its own weather. It's able to create these pyrocumulonimbus clouds that are actually able to create winds that help spawn more fires. And that's what makes it difficult for firefighters to keep up with this. So going into tonight, it's still warm. Another hot day tomorrow. But by Monday and Tuesday, we start to feel some relief. Thankfully, winds are not to a crazy intense level right now. But if we continue to see some of these winds developing from these clouds, that's when we could see more of these fire spots igniting, or we could see this spreading even quicker. So that's something that we're monitoring here, Gio. Just a really tough situation since we aren't getting any break from this heat. I mean, it is just brutal out there, and this heat has been treacherous.
Certainly a lot to keep an eye on. Danny, thank you so much for that update. We'll check back in with you a little later. We do want to give one more update when it comes to evacuation orders. The latest one just coming in a few minutes ago from the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. They want to add the communities of Running Springs and Arrow Bear Lake are all under an evacuation order as of right now. So that is the latest update. And something else that was worth pointing out as we continue to monitor a lot of different threads, officials trying to share as much information as possible, and we're also trying to stay on top of it as well. As you take a look at this video right now, this is footage from earlier, a fire burning through those mountainsides, the forest. It's a lot going on right there. You see just how intense that is. Compare that to the live shots we've been seeing from SkyCal, from Lori Perez down on the scene. It is a lot to keep in mind. But to that CAL FIRE update, they just actually tweeted this a couple minutes ago, and it's worth pointing out because they specifically cite the line fire. They are reminding folks anywhere that flying a drone or a similar type of aircraft can be extremely dangerous to pilots and other aircraft in the immediate area, and that certainly affects their response because it puts so many people in danger. Now, it's worth bringing up because they also mentioned in the same exact post that yesterday on the line fire there were 2 separate drone incursions into the fire area, and that these actions, of course, endanger lives and carry severe penalties. So that's something that we're keeping an eye on as well. But let's get back out to Lori Perez, who is live from the scene right down there. And Lori, when you mentioned earlier that it sounded like a waterfall, when you went silent for a moment just to try and highlight that, I can tell you from back out here, it certainly did sound like that. And the wind behind you, you can also take a note of it too. So it's a lot that crews are dealing with from where you are right now.
Absolutely, and we were actually going to pack up and head back and try to meet up with some evacuees, but we stayed because I wanted to show you just exactly how quickly this fire is moving. I was talking about it before, but I mean, just in the moments since I was last live with you, you can see how much the flames have grown in those few moments. And that noise that I talked about that you just mentioned has, increased fivefold. I mean, it is amazing. When Danny was talking about the weather that it can create, I was wondering whether or not what I was hearing was thunder. I'm not sure. There have been reports that there is lightning under those smoke clouds. I'm not sure what it is, but I can tell you it is really loud and really intimidating. But I wanted to come back here live to make sure that you were able to see what we are seeing in terms of the flames really flaring up and exploding moment to moment, which is really just something to watch. We have, again, been told that even where we are, we've moved down from where we were before, and we've been told that now where we are could be at risk. So we're not going to stay here for much longer because eventually they do think that it will be to the point where we are standing. Very smoky. A lot in the air. You can see I have the goggles on. We should probably also have masks on because there is a lot of smoke and debris in the atmosphere at this point. Super hot and just really something to watch as we are from this vantage point. I'm hesitant to leave only because the pictures are so incredible. But of course, we do want to make sure that we talk to people being affected by this, people who have been moved out of their homes and who are taking shelter now in emergency shelters that have been set up, moving themselves, their families, and their animals to safety. A lot going on in this area. We understand that the 330 up to Running Springs is completely closed off. We were thinking about perhaps making our way to Running Springs where there are evacuations, but we understand that that is now at least an hour and a half, if not a 3-hour drive to get up there. So, really trying to make the best use of our time as we bring this news to you. But I wanted to make sure that you saw this, of course. I'm going to send it back to you guys now.
Lori, thank you so much. And right now on the right side of your screen here is the earlier shots of approaching the site there of the fire. It is just intense heat. We'll be able to check in with Lori a little bit later on as the evening progresses. But there's the full screen image of just how intense the flames are, the smoke billowing up into the air, and not to mention the air quality is going to be the major concern. Now, in just the last couple of minutes, there's been another update when it comes to evacuation orders. We first told you about the ones affecting communities of Running Springs and Arrow Bear Lake. Those are under an evacuation order, according to the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. Just in the last couple of minutes, this is effective immediately. The area east of Orchard Road to Clover Hill, from Highland Ave north to the foothills. Those are now under an evacuation order as well. So this list continues to climb and grow in just the last 20 or so minutes since we first broke in. To give you the update on this breaking news out of San Bernardino County, those new evacuation orders in for the line fire. You notice the right side of your screen with the map. Again, live is from SkyCal on the left side of your screen. That sort of highlights what we've been looking at, and just what makes it so difficult for crews is that it's such steep terrain. It's so difficult to access all of this, and we're going to look into and check in with Danny a little bit later on in terms of the weather and how that's affecting. You have the heat, you have the winds, and then if there are any potential lightning strikes or anything else that Lori might have mentioned from her vantage point, that would also affect any aircraft or personnel in the air to try and combat these flames. But just in the last 24 hours, it is important to note that this fire that started 2 days ago and has now exponentially grown in size. We're coming up on the 24-hour mark from when this fire first started, and it's tripled in size in just the last 24 hours. So we're looking at a fire that is over 7,000 acres, presumably 0% contained. Haven't gotten an update on that, but so far from what we're seeing, it is exponentially moving. And Danny, as we bring you back in here now, Lori made this mention, and it's worth asking you when it comes to the fire making its own weather. You made that point earlier, but have there been any reports of lightning strikes or anything like that that could potentially be happening over there? And we know how, of course, that could play into aircraft attacking this fire as well.
Yeah, you know what, Gio, we have been seeing thunderstorms developing this afternoon. A lot of those in San Diego County. Over there, though, it does look like we've seen some up in the mountains, and a lot of these storms can very easily, sometimes they show up on our radar, very easily create this dry lightning that could actually help to spark fires. That's why it's always a concern when we're dealing with these thunderstorms that develop when the conditions are so dry.